Yeah, yeah.
He's on the top of the hill. There's spot iron fence. He years ago I drove by there one day. Storing farm he had a wall out in the yard. I saw him one time. They told him
What would you think? Oh, green. Well, there's a green Dale. Probably the middle one. My middle at high school. That wouldn't be my choice though. Oh, really? Yeah. I like the top. Some people do. I like them all. There's not. What is the little single house down there? The what? Like you come in, just to the left. Yeah, I don't grab one. No, I think that's a style. It's still a side by side. It's just a longer, narrow style. No, it's smaller. Yeah, I know. Because if there's some one left and then it's one. Yeah. So it's going to be too much. Yeah, too much.
All right, we're going to resume, folks, with the town board meeting. Those who are going to stay, if you would, come back and join us. This is the meeting of the town board of the town of Waukesha, December 10th, 2015. And we're proceeding here at about 7:37, 7:39. So says the clerk, 7:39 in the evening. So we have a call to order and we have a pledge of allegiance again. So if you'd stand and join me, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do the roll call here quickly, and then I'll explain to you how we're going to proceed this evening. So would you take the roll, please?
Supervisor Fisher?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor Radke?
Here.
Supervisor Wolf?
Here.
And Supervisor, Chairman Marek is absent.
We have a town ordinance that provides, in the absence of the town chairperson, the person who's been on the board the longest, calls the meeting to order, which I have just done, after which we have to elect a temporary chairperson for the meeting from the board members that are now present. So are there any motions to elect a temporary chairman?
I'll make a motion to elect Supervisor Fisher as the temporary chairman.
I'll second. Okay, I have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Have we item 3, open meeting law compliance check? Can you confirm that that in fact has been done?
Yes.
Okay. And we again have another opportunity for citizens' comments at this meeting. If anyone would like to comment, resident or not, please come forward, give us your name and proceed. Okay, then we're going to go past that. Item 5 was discussion and possible action, and 5A is the conditional use request. The owner, 59 Acquisition LLC, Principal John Marek. I'll forego reading the rather lengthy legal description, but this is referenced to tax key WAKT 12979990002. There is a recommendation from the Plan Commission for the town board to consider in this matter. Staff have anything further to add that hasn't already been said?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the planning commission and approve the conditional use for 59 Acquisition LLC
And the conditions that were
and the
part of the
conditions that were
conditional
so
use.
attached.
All right, there's a motion for approval.
I'll second.
All right, a motion by Supervisor Durr, seconded by Supervisor Radke, to accept the recommendation of the Plan Commission for approval of the conditional use for 59 Acquisition LLC with, I believe, I think 13 conditions that Planner Garchek had identified. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None, so that passes unanimously. Item 5B is the site plan, again, for owner 59 Acquisition LLC, Principal John Marek. I'll forgo again reading the legal description, the property description, but it is Waukesha, or it is tax key WAKT 129-799-0002. There was a recommendation from the Plan Commission to approve the site plan. So supervisors, how would you like to dispense with this item?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the plan commission with the attached conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Durr, seconded by Supervisor Radke to accept the recommendation for approval of the site plan for 59 Acquisition LLC. Principal John Marek, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That too passes unanimously. I believe, and again, it's the pleasure of the chair. I'm not sure where he went, but said keep going with the meeting, so we'll do that. It matters not, your choice.
It's you. Let's go.
All right, we're going to keep going. Item 5C was the conditional use, the owner Fred Lathers, and that also has, I think we need to formally act on that, or I presume we do. We do need to not take an action. That will be taken up a month hence. Same with the site plan for Fred Lathers. The certified survey map, owner Everett German, location S46W2280. I think we might be missing a number there, but it's Lonsdale Road. Tax key WAKT 1391996. There was a recommendation from the Plan Commission. How would you like to act on that item?
I'll make a motion that we approve the certified survey map and the recommendation from the Plan Commission, subject to any conditions that there are.
I'll second. Okay, motion by Supervisor Radke, a second by Supervisor Wolf to accept the recommendation for approval from the Plan Commission with the conditions that they attached. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is, or that matter as well passes. Item 5F is a site plan and plan of operation. Owner James Sutton, MBS Envision Inc., location W24 or 246 S3244 Industrial Lane. Tax key WAKT 13549650001. Again, we have a recommendation from the Plan Commission. How would you like to act?
Make a motion to accept the recommendation of the plan commission with the conditions attached.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Durr, second by Supervisor Radke to accept the recommendation of approval from the Plan Commission for James Sutton, MBS Envision Inc. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That as well passes unanimously. 5G, site plan and plan of operation. Owner Joe Gillamore, location S30W24896 Sunset Drive. Tax key WAKT 135942000. Again, we have a recommendation on this matter for approval from the Plan Commission. How would you like to act?
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation from the Plan Commission for the site plan and plan of operation for the said tax key.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Radke, second by Supervisor Wolf to approve the site plan and plan of operation for Joe Gillamore. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And finally, under item 5H, accessory building owner David German. Location is S53W24395 Glendale Road. Tax key WAKT 1404998. I believe the recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval for the accessory building. How would you like to act?
I'll make a motion that we approve based on the Plan Commission's recommendation for the accessory building for David German at the said tax key.
I'll second.
Okay, we have again a motion in 2 seconds. Clerk's discretion for approval of the accessory building for David German. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then we have minutes for several meetings here. We have November 10th, 2015, November 12th, 2015, and November 19th, 2015. Do we know, were all members of the board present for all of those meetings?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from November 10th, November 12th, and November 19th, 2015 as a group.
What's that?
I'll second.
Was here. All right, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the meetings of November 10th, November 12th, and November 19th, 2015. Give me 1 minute. I have one request for a change in verbiage on that. I would direct your attention to the minutes of the meeting of November 12th, 2015, the top of page 4 of 6. I'll give you just a minute to locate that, and I have a request to slightly change the verbiage when everybody's found that. Top of page 4 of 6. If you'll have that, I would ask that that first sentence be changed to read as follows. I have a copy for the clerk here to read. Supervisor Fisher stated he would not support the motion because the cul-de-sac on Green Lane would be about 3,000 feet long, and our ordinance prohibits cul-de-sacs that are longer than 1,320 feet without Plan Commission approval and board approval. Unless there is objection, I would ask that that sentence replace the one that is there present. It's much the same information, but it's worded a bit differently. Does anybody need to have me go through that again, or any concerns about that?
Nope.
Okay, then if that's acceptable to everybody, the motion is in place to approve all 3 sets of meetings. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then we have reports as item 7. 7A is well monitoring. I will speak to that issue. You should have, was late in coming, but I think you've got a series of about 4 or 5 pages of blue copy paper that you received tonight. If you had an opportunity to take a look at that, we did get a response at 4:18 p.m. this afternoon, so this wasn't in packets or anything, but is from Lisa Lehman. That's L-I-E-S-A. I'm pronouncing it Lisa, L-A-E-H-M-A-N-N, Kerler, K-E-R-L-E-R. She is with the private, or she is the private water, so says section chief of the Bureau of Drinking Water and Groundwater for the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. And if you recall this topic, it's about changes to NR 812, which is the state statute for wells and drinking water, and changes that were effective October 1st, 2014, a little over a year ago, that requires some testing of wells when sampling is done. And this is about our well monitoring program of a couple of dozen wells that are generally in the southwestern part of the town. And cut to the chase, board members and others can read that. She simply indicates that as described, our well monitoring program, we do need to do follow-up testing. Guthrie and Fry, who's been doing this, called this to our attention. I'll leave that open for discussion. Again, this is kind of late received information, but I guess I'll open that up to any comments or questions that anyone would have. I mean, while you're pondering that, it would appear to me as though there's nothing to act upon this tonight. And my suggestion would be, and I'm willing to do it, is that we perhaps even go back to Dr. Chirkauer and have him review what we've been doing for the past 6 or 7 years thereabouts and get recommendations going forward as to the frequency of monitoring. And then I think we need to get some additional information on cost and responsibility and so forth for follow-up testing. The whole purpose is they want to ensure there's not well contamination by virtue of the fact of opening the wells up to measure the static water levels.
Question.
Sure.
Back at one of the meetings previous, it was brought up that Mr. Macy was going to check with one of the communities that also does well testing and see what they do for it. Was that done or?
Yes, it was done, and I think we provided that to Mr. Fisher. And I think basically, this is all news to me. Basically, I think they told Vernon you didn't need to do this testing. So I am now going to send Vernon this and try to get to the bottom of it. Wasn't that your recollection, Mr. Fisher? As Vernon was told just the
Well,
opposite?
I tell you, there is, and this, again, this is kind of late in coming. It's too much to digest, but if you go through this, you'll actually see what I hitchhiked on is something that Attorney Macy was part of the discussion on things that he forwarded. And in fact, this ties back into conversation that was had with the town of Vernon. So did you get a copy of this or not?
I got it electronically and I
Okay,
printed it
so
out. Yet. I saw it.
I mean, this goes back, if you look all the way to this email string, I mean, it looks like this goes back to Karen Shu, who I believe is the clerk for the town of Vernon. And it goes back to a communication string that she starts back on October 2nd of 2014. So,
I didn't know that was in here.
no, well, I mean, we just got this late this afternoon, and fair enough, but I think we can go through that. We can see a little bit where that trail has gone. But unless anybody's got a thought, I don't think we can act on that in any regard other than just accept the information tonight. Anything else on that topic? If not, we'll move on. 7B is a sheriff report. Are we without a sheriff report tonight? In the packet, so nobody's going to present that. Simply look at the information. Any questions about the sheriff's report? Looks like the chief is anticipating 7C, Fire EMS Department. I'm assuming that's why you're at the microphone. Take it away.
It's in your packet if you want to read it.
End of report. Okay.
Run summary for November, we had 21 ambulance requests, 7 vehicle accidents, 12 fire responses. Mutual aid was given 5 times and received 4 times. 1 member went on leave of absence. We took on 3 new members to the department in November that started. Current rosters at 36, 4 people on leave of absence, secretary, treasurer, and 1 high school cadet. One of our high school cadets left the program. He's pursuing other career goals and decided this wasn't going to be for him, so he left the program, so we're down to 1 cadet right now. Fire inspections for the second period of 2015 are just about complete. I'm hoping that he'll have them done before I leave on vacation because I don't want to deal with them while I'm on vacation. So hopefully he's got those accomplished before the end of 2-week period here. That's all I have for you.
Thank you. Any questions of chief? 7D is the clerk treasurer's report. I'm half anticipating you're going to tell me in your packet or no?
No.
Okay.
We had training on a new election equipment with our chief inspectors, and we do have the new equipment in-house now. I had a couple days with the auditor. We started our prelim on our audit for 2015. I sat with an investor and an advisor to go over our town accounts and see if we were properly putting the proper amounts in CDs and using our money market in the best ways. Completed our tax bills and they went out. We were actually the first tax bills out the door from the county this year. And we received a lot of positive feedback on having the burn permit and the new yard waste permit, which expires each year. Made contact with the DNR to review the DNR approval process as it applies to construction of the new well in municipal waters. I've placed a note for each month to stay on top of this. There is, I did contact them, and there has been no new well applications put in around the town or in the city of Waukesha. We received $9,234 for the ambulance purchase that has been put into our capital fund. Our noncompliance report, you all received a copy of your noncompliance report. We have 9 properties on the noncompliance list. One became compliant. That was the Sampson property and Treader property. We have 2 that are coming before you tonight. We have 1 that is scheduled for January 14th meeting. 1 is in their first 30 days. 1's being taken into circuit court, and 2 are waiting court date, and a court order compliance is on 1 which has not met that compliance. So we're waiting for the next steps from our attorney. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the clerk treasurer? If not, item 8, current business discussion and possible action on the following: West Waukesha bypass, Green Lane, Merrill Hills.
We have,
Supervisor Drew, is that you, or is that you, Kathy?
we have sent a letter out to, as directed at the last board meeting, out to the county, and we have not heard back from them at this time.
So that's merely a report, no action to be taken.
That's correct.
Okay, 9, new business discussion and possible action on items A through G. A is a motion to move any unused 2015 budgeted revenue to the capital fund once audit is complete. Do you want to just explain that briefly?
We went through this, we went through a few different scenarios with the auditor, and this one is, he specifically stated this was a good way to move our revenue instead of moving it into the general fund. And then later on, when we needed to do our capital, then we'd have to move it back to the capital fund. Since we didn't use some of our revenue that was budgeted for 2015, after he audits, we'd have a true number, and we could move that number right into the capital fund for future projects.
Okay, any questions about that? If not, a motion to act in that regard would be in order at this time.
I make a motion to move the unused 2015 budget into the capital fund once the audit is complete.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made by Supervisor Durst, seconded by Supervisor Wolf. Assuming everyone understands the motion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. 9B, approval of poll workers for 2016, 2017.
In your packet, you have a list of poll workers that have either been poll workers in the past or have been identified by the Democratic and the Republican parties. This is the, by the end of this month, we are to approve that, and so today is the day to do that.
I note, amongst others, Mrs. Paget is in the audience tonight. You have an asterisk by your name, which says that you are the chief inspector. We thank you for your service to the town. And if there are others out there, poll workers that didn't identify, we appreciate you as well. Any questions about this? Seems pretty straightforward. We need to take action on that then.
These have been duly noted or nominated by the chairman, I take it?
They go to the board, they go to the chairman, and then we brought it to the board for approval.
That's the statute.
You are correct.
Okay. Who would like the honors?
I make a motion to accept the nominations of the chairman for the poll workers for 2016, 2017.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion is made by Supervisor Durst, seconded by Supervisor Radke. Assuming you understand the motion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. 9C, rollover of unused earned vacation time from 2015 to 2016.
Jerry and myself have unused vacation time, and We are unsure if we're going to be able to use it all by the end of the year. We are asking for it to be able to roll it over for 1 year.
Do we have any idea of the number of days or hours? or anything?
I believe Jerry has about 40 hours left, and I have 2.5 weeks.
Discussion, action?
Supervisor Radke, do we have a policy on this in the employee handbook?
I don't believe we do.
Is this something on which you think we should have a policy if we don't?
That would be a different discussion, I guess.
So we would just be approving for the rollover for this year.
For 2 individuals for this year. Correct. Would you like to act?
Yeah, I'll move that we roll the 2 employees' vacations over from 2015 to 16.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made by Supervisor Wolf, second by Supervisor Durr for the rollover of unused earned vacation time. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. D, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Darlene Riva requesting a second extension on non-compliance work. You have information in your packet on that. It appears some historical perspective and photographs on that. You're here to address us.
Yes.
Welcome. Come forward and speak to us.
Well, the
Come on up
last,
to the microphone,
okay.
please.
When I was here before, I asked if I could have 6 months because they only gave me 1 month to do with the project. So I asked for 6 months, but I guess I didn't realize how much work it is. I'm doing most of the work myself, and also it's an issue for the money because I had a trailer that I had sold, but the sale didn't go through, and so I'm still waiting, still have that up for sale, so I don't have the money to complete the project. I did not realize when I got the permit until one of the gentlemen here mentioned it that you have 2 years. I thought I had to have the whole project done in 30 days. So I have the permit, I've done all the demolition, and I have the man for the furnace came out, and I have an electrician coming out tomorrow. So I'm working on it, but I just did not realize how long this was all gonna take. So I do need more time.
Okay, and someone correct me if I'm not looking at this correctly, you can. The record here seems to suggest that on May 26th, the town granted you an extension until November 15th. That appears to be approximately 6 months or thereabouts. And then you can see the re-inspections we've had since then. Do you have a specific request that you want to make of the board of additional time?
No, I just need more time. Like I said, I didn't realize how much work it was, and I did get the permit, and I did not realize the permit was good for 2 years. I thought it was just like a 30-day permit. So I do have my permit. I got it this past week, and the demolition is all done, and so now I have to start with getting electrician in and having the project done. But when I'm doing it myself, and it just takes a lot of time, and my son helps me, but he only can come on weekends.
Okay, well, I'm going to let other board members speak to us, but at some point in time, if you have a request or that type of thing, I think we need to, at some point in time, talk about, if we're going to consider granting the request, we need to talk about something that's got some specificity, some time certain. And I'll let others chime in, but this cannot be something that goes on unended, open-ended unendingly.
I understand that, but like I said, was confused about the whole thing because I've never had to deal with anything like this before. So when I got the permit, I thought I only had the 30 days, but it said on the permit that the permit was good for 2 years. So I just didn't know how all that worked. I'm unfamiliar with all this kind
Well,
of stuff.
and we appreciate that, but I mean, one purpose here tonight is to try to bring clarity to whatever you decide to do between you and the members of the town board.
And also with the cold weather and having to take off the doors and everything, I mean, I know the cold weather's coming and my son's not gonna want to work out in the cold. So I just need some more time to get the money together and to get the work done.
So what is left to do yet? Is the shed down?
The sheds are down. There were 2 sheds. I knocked both of them down. The garage there was 2 bedrooms there. I've knocked down all the walls. There's no, I mean, it's just an empty space now. The inspector was over there on Tuesday. He came by and just told me the different things I had to do. The firewalls are in on the side and all around. It needs some patching, and I have to buy 3 fire doors along with a garage door, and then put the doors in. I mean, I think I made a lot of progress. The ceilings are all down, and so it is empty. It's like a garage. Everything's empty. There's no rooms down there. Nothing's down there. No walls. Nothing. It's all been knocked down.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I appreciate your lack of understanding of everything that's needed, and this is kind of the first time, and you're not a contractor, and all of those issues that you're facing. In an effort to help clarify some of that for you, I could maybe tell you or lead you in a direction of things that I would need in order to support any motion that would grant a second extension. I would be looking for some very definite timeframes of when it's going to complete, but not only when the whole project is going to be done, and definitely sooner rather than later, since this is a request for a second extension. But I'd also want to have some milestones associated with this. So, I'd be looking for you to sit down with somebody who's knowledgeable about what needs to be done, whether that's your son or an acquaintance that you know that's a contractor or a formal contractor, but somebody who can scope the project. And then I'd be looking for some milestones. If there's electrical work that needs to be done, electrical will be done on this time. If there's heating and HVAC work to be done, it'll be done by this time. If there's drywall work, it'll be done by this time. But before I'd be open to any kind of extension, and this is only me talking, I'm only 1 vote out of the 4 on the board. Those are the things that I'd be looking for before I'd be willing to support a second extension.
But what I was under, I was confused about the permit.
I understand.
The permit said that you had 2 years
Right.
for the permit. So does
Well,
that
you
mean?
have 2 years with the permit.
Does that
but-
mean it's a permit for other things, or does that mean that it was for just this one project, or? Because they also told me the permit was only $75, and then it was almost $300 when I paid for it. It was
I understand.
$280 something for a permit. When I was told it was
Yeah,
only going to be
those aren't questions.
$75.
I can only tell you what I, as a supervisor, would be looking for to support another extension. That's all I can tell you. As far as what the permit covers, you'd have to consult with the town staff, the building inspector, and things of that nature. I'm only trying to give you some clarity as to what it would take for me to support another extension.
Okay, well, I have the electrician coming tomorrow. He's supposed to be coming tomorrow and tell me how long it's going to take him to do the things he needs to do. And then I also have my son coming on the weekend to look at it to see what he can do to help me. Like I said, Inspector Martin he gave me a list of the things that I need to get done. And I have the list at home, and so that's why I'm trying to accomplish it.
Question, Supervisor Durham, not trying to take you in a direction that you don't want to go, but I mean, in terms of having a specific plan. Would you all support an action to basically require Ms. Riva to provide a detailed plan submitted to the town board? Now, we do not have another meeting until the first meeting in January. The date escapes me, January 14th. Is that something that you would entertain, or is that going too far out to get a detailed plan?
I'd want to see a plan before I'd be willing to take any action on this.
Okay, and my question is providing a detailed plan and having her appear at the meeting in January, is that something that you would consider or not? Again, not looking to take in direction that you don't want to go.
Well,
That would
yeah,
be
I'd
our
have to
next
consider
meeting.
whatever we had at that time.
Okay, but to require her to do that, I mean, thoughts, other board members, please weigh in.
Well, I think I'm following your train of thought, and to clarify where I'm going with it is, yeah, we need to see something. There's got to be a time frame. You've got a permit that allows you to finish the work within 2 years, meaning you don't need another permit for that, but it's got to be done, and you were given a 6-month extension, and that's now up. So your purpose of coming here today is to ask for an extension, but we can't give you an unlimited extension to say, well, I'm not sure, it could be 2 weeks, could be 2 months, could be 2 years. You got to give us a time frame for us to be able to approve. I would not be opposed to pushing this and not doing any action until next month, provided that you come with a time frame that we can then make a decision on.
Supervisor Wolf, you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I would support the same thing. Before I would give you a definite extension, I would need to know what your time frame is. What Mr. Radke said, Supervisor Radke said, I would support that. In you coming with a definite plan of action and sticking to that and going from there.
Is that something you can do?
I do what I have to do. If that's what I need to do, yes.
I think if I hear the members of the board here, and they can correct me if they don't, what we're looking for, I mean, it can go on one piece of paper, but it's got to have a little bit of detail, the things that need to be done. I mean, talk to the electrician, talk to your son, who's ever going to be doing the work, but we basically need to describe what it is and the date by which it will be done. And that will be put then on the agenda, and you need to be here on the 14th of January. Is that the correct date? And you really need to get that into the town clerk before the meeting so it can be put in an agenda packet. I mean, desirably that gets done before the first of the year here so it can make it in the agenda packets. Do we want to take a formal action on that? Probably should. And if I couch that in terms of if somebody wants it, I mean, say so. Would somebody ready to make a motion to that effect?
I just want to remind you, we do need to take some kind of action because if we don't do anything tonight, she's going to go into citation because our ordinance says that after this time, she goes into citation. She's at that time.
I'll make a motion that we postpone the decision on granting any extension until the next board meeting on January 14th, 2016, at which time the petitioner will provide a detailed timeline and ending timeline as to what extension she's looking for, subject to board approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we got 3 in favor, Supervisor Dur's dissenting vote. Do you clearly understand now what it is that's required of you?
You want me to break down timeline when I'm gonna get the electric work done, when I'm gonna get the
Yes.
drywall up? You want a timeline, and I need to bring it in here before January 1st. That's what you-
That would be appropriate, and you need to be at the meeting. It'll be on the agenda for January 14th. Okay? All right.
And a final completion date of the entire project.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item next is 9E, Joe Marquardt requesting an extension on non-compliance work. Come forward, please. You did submit communication to us that I think is in our informational packets. Do you want to simply review that for us or tell us what your request is and why?
Sure. I received a non-compliance notice of a shed and a deck. I've since torn down the shed. It was in disrepair, so I couldn't move it. As to the deck, I'd like an extension to be able to repair or move the deck back into compliance. I would say 6 months, end of June, I should be able to take care of that. I am looking into other options with the Planning Commission for a special exception.
Okay, thank you. Comments?
Mr. Marquardt is in his first 30 days. He came forward with finishing the shed, taking down that shed. He does have the opportunity to go to Board of Appeals for the variance on, that he just spoke about. Sir, on the deck.
Okay.
So June 10th is our meeting. No, 6 months from now. Or excuse me, June 9th, Thursday. He said 6 months. Right? I thought I heard you say that.
Well, till warmer weather would be great, yeah.
Well, you know,
And plan.
and that's where want to make sure that we set an appropriate
Sure.
date, you know, because it's not just that we have warmer weather, but it's
Sure.
that you have enough time after you have warmer weather.
Sure.
You know, if you're
9
talking about
9
doing a
months.
deck, you're talking about footings and
Mhm.
you got to dig and we have frost. And so, as you can see with the previous one, I want to bring these things to conclusion, and I
Sure.
want to make sure that we give people enough time to bring them to conclusion so that we don't have to get into multiple extensions.
Sure. And depending upon what happens with the special exception with the Planning Commission, I may or may not need that extension time anyways, but 7 or 8 months, that'd be fine.
That would appear to me to be a reasonable request. I mean, we make judgment decisions on that. It does not appear as though this is something that significantly impacts his neighbors or whatever, that type of thing. I don't think that's an unreasonable request, but if indeed you're going to go before the appeals board and that type of thing, you need to get on with that part of the show, right?
Yes, I'm well on my way with that.
Okay.
So if we said 7/14, which is also a meeting date,
Sure.
that would seem appropriate to you?
Very good.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
I'd like to make a motion to grant the extension to expire on July 14th, 2016.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion is made by Supervisor Durr, seconded by Supervisor Radke to grant an extension to July 14th,
Yes.
2016. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's been approved. Thank you, Mr. Marquardt.
Thank you.
All right, item next here is item 9F, ordinance 2015-11, amending 13-2-8, parens F, close parens, trailer load capacity. And we have a copy of the proposed ordinance revision in front of us.
Now, as this is a zoning ordinance, a change amendment, we're going to have to go to a public hearing. This was mainly here for the purpose of a discussion to decide how you want that ordinance to look.
So the only change is the changing it from 1 to 3 ton capacity.
And there's been some discussion back and forth a little bit about maybe the tonnage isn't what needed to be changed, but more of a size or length, depending on how you wanted to look at this ordinance.
I think this came out of a discussion from a citizen at the annual meeting. And I think it was a reaction to, there's so many violations that it's almost be de facto ignored because of the way that it's written, which I don't disagree with. I think, if you read this about this essentially, the way it reads now is that any trailer with a 1-ton capacity or greater is not supposed to be left in a driveway. It's supposed to be, I don't know that you have to say that it has to be in a garage, but, you know, it can't be readily seen, essentially. And I think if you drive around the town, you see that all over the place. My only concern is that if we move it all the way up to a 3-ton, do we want to give up the ability or the right to deal with problems that might come up? I'm not inherently opposed to doing it or to rewriting it in some other fashion also, because, I mean, it is clear that when you drive around, everybody and their brother's got some kind of utility trailer sitting there. Up until just last year, I did, and then I built an enclosure for it. But previous to that, it sat on the side of my house unenclosed. So that was my thought when I read this.
I have two quick things to say, one of which I heard from a town resident today, late in the afternoon, encouraged him to send a communication. I don't know whether he did or not, and that's quite beside the point of this going to go to a public hearing. The only question that I've got, and I will profess not to know much about load capacity of trailers. I'm just a little concerned about the way the existing ordinance is written and even the proposed one, because the existing one says with a 1-ton load capacity or greater are not allowed, and this is 3-ton or greater are not allowed. Are we really intending to say greater than 3-ton? I mean, this would disallow a 3-ton trailer. In the way I read our existing ordinance, it would disallow a 1-ton capacity. Is that where they're rated? I mean, someone educate me, please.
You're asking what the tonnage weight is on them?
No, what I'm saying is if you read it, just look at what it says in the ordinance. It says flatbed trailers designed with a 1-ton load capacity or greater shall not be parked. I mean, the way our ordinance is right now is there's a rating for 1 ton. If you read what this says, it says you cannot have 1 ton now. And the way we're proposing to change it, I think it's just words, but are we intending to really say
You
not
can't have
greater
1 ton
than?
unenclosed. Right, it has to be less than 1 ton in order to have unenclosed storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is less than, I guess the question I'm asking, are trailers rated in tonnage capacity?
Yes.
So we've got 1 ton, 2 ton, what? Does it give a 2.5 ton trailer?
It can, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you get to 6,000 pounds, you're out of it. The way this is written.
The way this is written, yes.
Is that what we want? That's all I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I think the original intent of this was to prohibit large trailers.
Right.
And it specifies semi-tractors and trailers, which I understand, but yeah, I'm not sure what the original intention was with 1 ton and why the cutoff of 3. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's high enough.
I mean, if we read the whole flatbed trailers designated with 1 ton load capacity or greater, and semi-tractor trailers shall not be parked in open on any lot in a single-family residential district. So as it stands right now, you have to have, if your trailer can haul 2,000 pounds, you can't have it sitting in your driveway.
Correct. And the proposed thing says if it's 6,000 pounds, you can't have it either because that tips the trigger.
Well, this would allow you to have a 5,999
Exactly.
capacity trailer sitting in the open.
Right.
Right.
That's a bright line. Okay.
And my question is do we want to take away our ability to deal with a 2,500 capacity trailer that we don't want sitting in a driveway?
And I guess having it.
And as the clerk said, I mean, if this is going to go to a public hearing, then that largely becomes a moot point.
Sure.
But then what's our next step? I mean, you mentioned that there might be interest in designating length and
Well,
other
the,
directions.
the question is, the way the ordinance is written, and like I said, I'm not sure exactly what the intent was. If it's to make each yard look nice, then does tonnage make the difference or does size make a difference?
And a whole lot of other things too. And that's why I'm hesitant to give up the ability to deal with a one-ton trailer.
Your question was, you properly stated that it has to go to public hearing, but it doesn't go anywhere until somebody initiates a petition. Okay? This was a comment by a citizen that the clerk took it upon herself, and rightly so, so it doesn't get lost in the
So
shuffle.
this
to
wasn't the
bring this-
result of a petition, other than the annual meeting?
And this has not gone to the plan commission yet. So this is the
Okay.
initial stage. So you got to give some direction to somebody. You got to say, we want a committee to work on it. We want the clerk to work on it. We want to initiate a petition like it's written. It sounds like we need more research from what a couple of people have said. And so then the clerk needs to know who's supposed to do, you can forward it to the plan commission to say, work on it and come back with a recommendation. I'm not saying to do that necessarily, but you got to do something. She's done what she can do, right? Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
You could say, it's not, we don't want to do it. You know, we like the law the way it is.
Well, I don't want to take any action on something that nobody's asked for. I mean, that citizen wants to move forward. I mean, I would encourage a citizen to make a petition, but then let's have them make a formal petition so that we, I mean, if a person has a concern, I want to address the concern that I know that they have.
Right.
I don't want to just take a stab at it. So I would encourage the person who made the presentation at the annual meeting to get in contact with the clerk to provide some more clarity on it. Because I think under the right conditions, I'd certainly, consider supporting it.
Then as soon as we get the formal petition, I can go ahead and get the public hearing set.
No, you can't set a public hearing.
Okay.
No,
Tell me
Because
what I
no
need to
one's
do.
initiated a petition. Now, if the
I said
citizen's
no.
gonna pay the fee and initiate the petition and pay all of the costs, that's one thing.
we're confident that you'll keep her honest on the public hearing.
Does the,
I'm just telling you,
Does
somebody
the
has
board
to
have
initiate a
the-
petition at some point, or we
Right.
can't do this.
okay, does a petitioner have to, I mean, do we have to have a petitioner or can the board just make a decision to change an ordinance?
I thought, and I'll go back and look it up again, in 99% of the codes, the petitioner can be the town board, the plan commission, or an individual. And that's the policy decision as to whether or not the town is willing to be the petitioner and pay all the costs, or whether they're going to ask that, a person come forward. That's where you were going, and I just wanted to make sure we knew what you wanted.
Suggestion, while Attorney Macy's taking a look at that, is there any objection to simply moving to item 9G and give him an opportunity to research that and see if we can
Nope.
knock that item off? Any objections?
Nope.
Okay. Larry, you want to come back up for a quick
In fact,
minute?
Larry, you can be up here for this. We're taking any action one way or the
Do
other.
you want to make a motion on the operator's license? Go ahead. All right, you've got before you a request for an operator's license for Lindsay Catherine Warren. You got some information on that. Any action you wish to take on that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the operator license for Lindsay Warren for Neighbors Bar and Grill.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? If not, you've heard the motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
If you need a bit more time, we can go and do accounts payable and dust that off. Let's give Attorney Macy a little more time. Can we do accounts payable? Authorization of payment of the bills. You have the numbers before you. Indeed, you do. We have two different motions. One would be, a motion would be in order to approve authorization of payment of the bills in the amount of $363,684.60, which excludes the Rupert and Milky invoicing we'll take separately. Is there a motion to pay the bills in that amount?
I move we pay that amount.
And I'll second.
Okay, you have a motion and second. Supervisor Wolf and Durr to pay the bills in the amount of $363,684.60. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then a separate motion would be in order to pay the Rupert and Melky bill in the amount of $16,419.84. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion in that amount.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Durr, seconded by Supervisor Wolf to pay the Rooker and Melky bill in the amount of $16,419.84. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Aye. So we're done with payment of the bills. Did we give you sufficient time to research that issue, Counselor?
You have section 13-2-22 entitled Changes and Amendments, subsection A. The last sentence reads as follows. Such proposal, and that's a proposal to change or amend the text or the map, may be initiated by the board on its own motion, by recommendation of the Town Plan Commission, or by petition of one or more property owners. And the reason I bring this to your attention is because courts have thrown out the process if someone didn't initiate it. If it just sort of showed up from nowhere and you didn't follow this step, so I always want to make sure we start this step. So to recap, apparently a resident made a request that you looked at this zoning situation, and the clerk did. She wrote it up. So you can tonight, if you want, you can't obviously adopt it, you can initiate the petition and refer it to Plan Commission for recommendation, or for review and recommendation. You can decide to study it further. You can appoint someone to study it further. Your comment was sort of to refer it back to the clerk, have the clerk meet with the citizen and put a little more flesh on the bones, and then bring it back again for the board, and then the board may at that point want to initiate the petition. That's where you seem to be going, is to refer it back to the clerk, to meet with the citizen, get more information as to whether size matters, length matters, whether this should be a conditional use. You know, you could say by right, some communities have by right, you can have this size trailer. By conditional use, you can have a bigger trailer. That addresses your concern that in some instances it may be appropriate to have a bigger trailer, in other instances it's not appropriate to have a bigger trailer. That's really where you were going.
Right.
You know, by right you can have up to 1 ton. Up by a conditional use, you could have up to 3 ton. That's another option.
Okay.
So do you want to refer it back to the clerk to do more research and bring it back before we initiate a petition on something we don't have completely?
I would request to refer it back to the clerk to contact the interested citizen to see if they're interested in initiating a petition.
Do we need to deal with that as a formal motion? Would that be appropriate?
Either way, you can. You have the right to do so.
Would you like to do that
That's
as a
my
formal
motion.
motion? Okay.
Well, let me ask a question first. Is there a reason we can't have you involved in that? I mean,
I'm comfortable with them involved in it.
we know part of the reasoning, but is there a reason why you can't do it? Take it forward to the board.
The problem is there's a fee, and I'm sure it's not an insignificant fee for someone, if a resident, okay, I always like to give an example, a little different what you're talking about. If I come in and want to rezone my property from ag to R1, I pay a fee. That's the same thing. It's an amendment to the zoning code, amendment to the map or the text. So one of the code allows the town board to do it on its own initiative, the plan commission to do it, or a resident. Your referral back, you're saying, we're not going any further unless a resident files a petition and makes an application and pays the fee.
Right.
That's what you intended by that. That's fine.
That's where we're at right now.
Kathy says it's $300.
So let's just take it one step at a time. That's my motion for now.
And my question still is, and I'm not sure if you answered it or I didn't understand it or the meeting went too long and I don't know where we are. Is there a reason you can't bring it as part of the board forward and not have to worry about the fee? I mean, do we care?
That's not the.
But that's not my motion, then vote my motion down. I mean, if we do that, if the citizen decides not to move forward with it because of the cost, then I'll move forward from there. And if the board decides that this is important enough to take on as a board action, then the fee doesn't apply.
Okay, if you would restate the motion one more time so we're clear on it, would you do that, please?
My motion was to have the clerk contact the citizen to see if they're interested in filing a petition on this issue.
I'll second the motion. Further discussion? Then I sense you're ready to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion carries. Did you, yeah, are you an abstention or did you vote? Abstentions. All right, so we have 3 ayes, no nays, and Supervisor Wolf abstained. Okay, we've got that resolved. Then the only thing we need is a motion for adjournment. I think that'll be easy to get.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.